All right, well, speaking of confirmed things, the Browns open up OTAs today, Tyvis. Your favorite time of the year. That's how important are OTAs, especially the first couple, to get all the things that you prepared for in the offseason in the building under one roof.
Dude, OTAs is important to certain people. It depends on your situation. You know, obviously from an undrafted situation is everything because it's your first time being in the NFL as a rookie. You're trying to see where you measure up and stuff like that. And either for all rookies, that's the same thing. You want to see where you measure up. But if you're a veteran like the Cleveland Browns, for the offense, it's very important. You got a new play caller that's coming in there. You got a new run game coordinator. I mean, I would imagine so. He ain't here to just sit there. He's got some type of input. Okay. He ain't breaking no news. He got some type of input in there. Listen, it ain't going to get announced that Ken Dorsey is calling plays officially until Kevin Stefanski signs the contract, and I agree with him on that. But either way, it doesn't matter. Offensively, it's big because, like I said, you got Jerry Jeudy coming in there. You got a new offensive coordinator coming in there. You got a new run game coordinator coming in there. So you got to figure out how these guys take coaching. Do you like his phrase, his verbiage, his wordage on how they use things? You know, that might change. But defensively, those guys are coming back to just build on where they're at. It's year 2. You know, how is year 2 different than year 1 for the defense? Well, now they're not talking about the basics, the fundamentals. They're thinking about the next level stuff. Like, now I can look at formations. Now I can look at who's out there, and I can talk about their tendencies. Like, I don't have to worry about what's the call? Okay, on this call, I have this. Like, that's not where you at now. It's what's the call? Okay, I know that everybody around me has this. Okay, now I know that. Boom, let me look at the offense. Okay, they're in this set. In this set, typically they run this, so I can anticipate that my guy's going to do that. That's where this defense should be at, which is going to help them make a bunch of plays. Because when you're out there, you don't have to think about your job anymore. You actually got it down packed. It now allows you to think about other things to make you better. So I think that's where this defense is going to be at. From a special team standpoint, everybody is brand new out there on kickoff, so everybody's trying to figure out how they can be successful in that, and that's what the big challenge is, whoever can figure that part out.
Is 1 year enough to learn a system?
Yeah.
So by year 2, everything is second nature?
Yeah, because it's in year 1, it's very – depending on who you are, it depends on what the system is. I think Jim Schwartz's system is pretty – when I watch it, it seems pretty easy. You can tell it's easy because year 1 he came in and he had that much of an impact to where guys were just going. Like they didn't think about nothing, they just boom. So that tells me that everything is simple. If it was complex, you see guys in there like, wait, what do I got? What you got? Hold on, what you got on this? Okay, if you got that, then I got this. You didn't see a lot of that. You know, with Joe Woods, it was a bunch of
he said, she said,
who knows what? Like, okay, they came out in this. You see this, but I see this, but we not talking. So, boom, now it's a coverage bust. There was no coverage bust last year. So that tells me that everything is very simple in his defense. So with that being said, now, like I said, they can take the next step. And when we had D'Anthony Bell sitting here, he even said that, he was like, we didn't even finish putting in everything. Like, he said, what y'all seen last year was just basic. We still got more stuff to put in to be even better. So he's expecting a big year from year 1 to year 2, and I do too.
Well, let me ask you this then. And the answer is probably offense, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If there's more stuff to put it on the defense, knowing where they started at last year to where they hope to even be better this season. On the offensive side with Dorsey, with all the new pieces, Jerry Jeudy, Nick Chubb's uncertainty, Deshaun Watson's health, with all that, do you expect the defense to maybe make a bigger jump than the offense this year, or do you still expect the offense to make a bigger jump from 2023 to 2024?
Well, it's hard to make an even bigger jump from being the number 1 defense in the NFL. Like that's if you're going off. But
take the stats out. I'm just saying the evolution of the system, where one is most likely completely new because of the collaboration they have with offensive minds between Stefanski, Dorsey, Reese,
I feel like that,
everyone else, or the evolution of the defense.
That one is going to take time because everybody got to get on the same page and it's new. But I think once by the time the first game come around, I think that's going to be the test. And we seen the trend in many many seasons where it takes the offense always a little bit of time to get going. That's not just for the Cleveland Browns. That's for all 32 teams. It take a while to get that thing clicking. And when you got new coaches coming in and new verbiage going in and new wordage and new players coming into the system, it's going to take some time. And it's hard to try to get all that chemistry going up against your same guys every day or in 2 series of a preseason game. Like, it's going to take a while. So I think that offense can be spectacular, and I expect them to take the bigger jump than the defense does, because I thought the defense played well or great last year. But I think that offense is the biggest difference maker, and I think they will make the difference. But it's going to take like week 4 or week 5 where we'll see them take completely off. Because you got to remember, the first 4 games, not official yet, but I still think it's official. You still don't have Nick Chubb for them first 4 weeks, because I think he's going to start off on the PUP. Not that I know that. That's just my guess.
Just your guess. Jason, how much do you put into OTAs and whatever we see in terms of video content that comes out on Wednesdays for the next 3 weeks? Media will be able to be at these practices, so we'll get a little glimpse into a new offensive scheme. We'll get to see a little bit of, hopefully, Deshaun throwing the ball. We'll get to see a little bit of Nick Chubb and team activities. How much emphasis and how much credence do you put into what we get out of these early first couple of weeks of OTAs?
I don't know that anything that happens now impacts winning in September. I mean, Tyvis might have a better answer to that than me. I just think it's a good way to get guys back together, keep them around each other. I think it's more important for the offense and the defense because it looks like it's going to be a brand new install. So that ratchets up the importance of it. But it's 1% better, 1% better. And it sounds so silly and trivial, but I think there's a lot of merit to it. You're just trying to get 1% better today. You're not going to have all of everything installed, obviously, by the end of these OTAs, but it just starts to get guys familiar with each other. It really starts to get Kevin and Ken Dorsey familiar with each other in terms of on the field and interactions, and you start to learn about them. I said a couple months ago, maybe Kevin's telling the truth in the whole I don't know who's going to call the plays, because much like when he started with AVP, they had to get on the field together and see how they work and see how they interact. They haven't done that yet on the offensive side, so this is their first opportunity really to do that. So from that standpoint, I think that part's important. I don't know that what happens on the field necessarily translates into a guy making a play in September, October, November. It's just the start of the process.
I remember last year during OTAs, we got reports that Elijah Moore was coming out of the backfield as a receiver, being used in all these creative ways, and then once the actual season began, that was MIA in the ways they were using him.
He did it.
Kind of like spring training baseball versus
They did put him in the backfield like the first 3 weeks. It just didn't do it.
It was a disaster.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah. We were led to believe that this was going to be some big part of the offense, and it had the capabilities to be a game changer. It never proceeded to turn into that. So I don't put too much emphasis on what we see, especially just from these little glimpses. Remind you, there are practices every day of the week. The media gets to go to a very design-specific, hour and a half, however long to go there. Like, the Browns are well aware of exactly what they're putting on camera in front of people with cameras. It is all coordinated. But I am excited to see, how does Deshaun Watson's throwing motion look? We heard him talk when he was here for his end-of-season press conference, and when he was opening up lefties in Cleveland Heights, he said the shoulder feels great, he's on track, his throwing motion hasn't changed. Well, I believe him, but I want to see it with my own 2 eyes. I want to see if Nick Chubb is out there. Is he just able to run straight lines? Is he doing any type of agility cutting? We don't know just by seeing little glimpses through Mary Kay or from Hayden or from Jason or from Zach Jackson, from their little Twitter clips. Like, we don't really get a good look at how healthy a guy is, but it's at least something to put an eye test to match up with your own opinion you formulated at this point, to kind of get some sort of conclusion is not the right word, but see if it matches up to where you want it to be. So the 2 things I'm looking most forward to is, how do these injured guys look in their first real 2024 offseason activity? And 2, what glimpses into the new offense are we actually going to get? The answer is probably little, but I am curious to see what it is.
Well, I mean, yes to those. I agree with you on those. Actually, the person that I want to see is the one receiver that they drafted in the 5th round, Jamari Thrash. I actually want to say, like, with Mike Hall and Zach Zenter, with no pads on, their brother-in-law.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I can't really tell you exactly what it's going to look like. So I'm not really the trenches thing. I'm not worried about that at all. But I need to see some of these skill guys. I want to see if this receiver can be a guy, baby, because you're some late round gems that people can find. I want to see if hopefully he could be that guy. He's going up against good competition every day because the Browns secondary is one of the best in the league. So if he can make plays against them, he can make plays against anybody, and that's really what OTAs is all about. It's really a big 7-on-7.
What are some of the drills that Jamari Thrash and the receivers will go through in OTAs that may give you a glimpse into whether or not he's a real player or not?
Well, I don't believe in one-on-ones. I think that one-on-ones is a terrible drill. Now, don't get me wrong. If the receiver is running a regular route, balls out in 4 seconds, then that's real. But at what point is the quarterback going to go hike, not worry about a pass rush, look at one person, not have to make no read, look at one person, wait till he open and throw the ball? That doesn't happen.
Doesn't exist
exactly.
in real football.
So I don't put a lot of stock in that. The best drill to see if that Jamari Thrash is good or not will be 7-on-7 and team periods. Any of those, because there is no blocking. There won't be a blocking drill because they don't have pads on. One-on-ones, I could care less about that. And other stuff is special teams. So it just would be 7-on-7 or team periods to where I can find out if he can consistently beat somebody and if the quarterback is finding him and can he make the catches.
Elijah Moore was the breakout star of last year's OTAs.
Yeah, he was.
Who do you think will be the breakout star of this year's OTAs?
Is that like a kiss of death, or is that a good thing?
It's a great question. I don't know the actual answer to that.
I think the media will report I think the media will talk about how Jerry Jeudy runs good routes and all of those things.
Are we sure he's going to be here?
Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah.
He's not here?
I haven't kept up with who's here and who's not. I'm truly asking.
If Jerry Jeudy ain't here, then that's a terrible sign because you're in a new system.
Mary Kay should know if she's going to be on in 3 or 4 minutes.
There's no
we'll
way
ask her.
that Jerry Jeudy's
I'm guessing we'll know tomorrow when the media's allowed to watch who's
Yeah,
on the field and who's not.
yeah.
I'm not saying he's not. I was genuinely asking.
I'm going to tell you the reports is going to be Jerry Jeudy looks good. Jameis Winston looks like he has great command of offense and guys love to be around him.
It's worth mentioning with Winston, by the way.
Greg Newsome is making plays on the ball, which is going to make it seem like they're going to potentially pay him.
To your Winston point real quick, Tyvis, Deshaun, limited throwing. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
DTR, may not throw at all during OTAs. You're going to see a lot of Jameis Winston and Tyler Huntley during this early OTA session for most of the summer until Deshaun's back to 100% health. But just be ready to see a ton of Jameis and a ton of Tyler Huntley, and Deshaun's revamp process to getting back to throwing 50, 70, 100 balls in practice, whatever that number is calculated, and it's already in plan and in detail. It is not going to change. They have it already planned out. So if Deshaun only throws 10 passes one day, that is something that his coaches, his training staff, they have all come together to formulate that plan beforehand. So do not freak out. Expect Jameis, expect Tyler.
Yeah, then Jameis going to throw some dimes, and they're going to be like, well, maybe he could be the starter for the Cleveland Browns. You know, it's always something every year to spin the narrative. And I expect Jameis to go out there because I don't think he looks at it like, I want to be a backup for the rest of this time. That's not the case. I think he wants to actually apply pressure and show that, you know, I can lead this team. And he's got this perfect opportunity to show that he can lead the Cleveland Browns by having all OTAs. Although we all know
It's Deshaun's team.
It's Deshaun's team.
Yeah.